So right now, to update people who might just be tuning in, we do have bnyY Binary Gaming going up 1-0 here over vVv in the first game. Game 2 is already getting set up. It looks like vVvRockEr is going to be coming in for vVv Gaming. He is a Protoss player. We're going to be moving to MLG Shakir's Plateau for game number 2. Game loading up right now. So here we go, guys. Game number 2. Binary Gaming, vVv, Lua versus vVvRockEr. And someday we'll load in. It's half the fun of live casting, my friends. Alright, here we go. First off, going to be spawning as our purple Protoss. Going to be representing vVv. We're going to have vVvRockEr. And then going to be playing now his second game. Ended up winning that first game. Caught Hasu with a very good timing before Hasu was really able to get up too many Colossus. Was able to press his advantage for the win. He, of course, is going to be Binary Gaming's Lua. So here we are on Shakir's Plateau. This is the MLG version of the map. You can always tell with these low ground supply depots hanging out, which is really more or less more so for preventing low ground walls by Terran, really more than anything. Do see the early scout here going to be going out by vVvRockEr. Shouldn't really say early, but the earliest timing that you will see Protoss do a scout, I guess, would be the more accurate way to put it. Now, we did see in Game 1, Lua was pretty much content to just macro up against Hasu, who also was Protoss. So it will be interesting to see if that's the route Lua will go in this Game 2 once again, or if he might try and do something different. Low ground piling would suggest that he is definitely going to be going for some kind of a Forge expand or one gate expand type of play over here with vVvRockEr, which is really common on this map. I mean, you just have a nice defensive point over at your natural expansion on these ramps, so it's pretty easy for Protoss players to go for a really fast expansion. Do see the spawning pool first here by Lua. Not going to be taking gas once again, it looks like, so looks like he will be going with that same opening from the last game where he's going to be heavily macro-oriented. Might try and get down the hatchery before he has to build that additional Overlord, but we'll have to wait and see. Didn't look like he was going to commit to it too hard in the last game, so I'm sure it's probably going to be a little bit of a, if I can get it, I'll take it, but if not, no big deal type of thing. A little bit of a star here by vVvRockEr. Writing on the map for the fans out there tuning in here to this show match. $100 on the line to the winning team. Do you see there is the Nexus actually going 15 or about 16, 17 Nexus here, but it is going to go Nexus first here after the initial pylon. So wants to get that Nexus and his economy up as soon as possible. I don't really mind this by vVvRockEr. If he talked to Hasu at all in between games, he would have an idea of the type of opening. Plus, he did see that there wasn't gas up right away by Lua, so he knows that link speed's not going to be up for a little while yet. So Lua not going to be able to apply too much pressure to this expand too quickly. Do see the pylon going to be getting taken down here by Lua so that he can get up his expansion. Has taken his gas a little bit sooner than he did in the last game, though. So is going to at least be getting up his link speed a tad bit quicker. Do see vVvRockEr, though, already putting down the Photon Cannon and his first gateway, so this Nexus definitely is going to be able to go up without really any problems whatsoever for him. Don't mind that choice at all. Anytime you see a Zerg player for Protoss players not taking the early gas, you can a lot of times get away with a much quicker Nexus just because there's not going to be a lot of good ways the Zerg player can really apply a lot of pressure to you. Zerg does take gas, though, and you try and go for too greedy of a Nexus. It makes you very susceptible to stuff like Baneling busts. So you see it a little less often on Protoss players when you do see Zerg going gas pool or something of that nature. Nexus is now up. That is going to at least temporarily give vVvRockEr the economic advantage. Would expect Lua, unless he's going to do some kind of quick timing attack, we see he's already actually pulled off of gas after getting metabolic boost, to take a third base in the not too distant future here. You see him already moving a drone over into position at this third base, so I am going to expect him to drop this third once he gets to about 300 extra minerals. Right now it looks like just trying to make sure he spends all of his larva down, building quite a few drones, and there indeed does go down the third base, so he'll be able to start catching up economically. As soon as that third base gets up and underway, don't see any upgrades coming out of the forge just yet. Do you have 2 gateways down, cybernetics core going down? So might be going for a little bit of a zealot pressure here in the early game, or at least is going to use the zealots to scout around his opponent's base. Might just want to try and take a little bit of map control. But actually is now proxying a pylon over here up at this top area. I don't know if he's going to actually try and hide any tech, or if he just wants that pylon up at that top area for scouting purposes. We'll have to wait and see. A lot of different Protoss players play the matchups differently. Some really like to spread their pylons all across the map, just to give them spotting and vision of the map. You do risk a little bit the chance of losing some pylons here and there, but really can be worth it, I'd say, if you spot something that you might not have otherwise spotted. But we'll have to wait and see what he's going to do with this pylon. Does still have this probe hanging out here, so maybe planning on proxying something. And interesting enough, he's going to throw a cannon down over here, so might be going for a very fast third base. We'll have to wait and see, though. Would be a little bit of a gamble to take a really quick third base. Could be a little susceptible to some kind of a push time or something like that. Dropping 2 photon cannons down now. And now we have some zealots over here fighting near the third base. Looks like they're going to try and take out this third before Lua can really establish it. Lua right now mostly on Zerglings. Does have enough Zerglings that he should actually be able to take these zealots out with proper micro, but if RockEr can get some good positioning off here, might be able to take these Zerglings out. Going to be really close here. Does manage to take out one of the zealots. 2 zealots now remaining. Another zealot goes down. A couple of reinforcing Zerglings coming in. He will clean those up. Did take a decent amount of damage here, and it looks like RockEr's actually going to continue with this 2-gate pressure with these zealots. This is kind of an interesting play here by RockEr that he's doing. Just kind of streaming zealots across the map, and is going to indeed take a very fast third base. So kind of just applying a little bit of pressure here to Lua's third base, keeping him busy with these zealots. Does have a Twilight Council up now. Hasn't started any upgrades out of it yet. Taken a couple of his extra gases. So going for a very heavily economic opening while applying pressure with those zealots. The question is, will Lua be able to punish him for that economic opening, or will Lua just add an additional expansion? If we're looking at the economy, we do see that RockEr is a tiny bit ahead right now, 48 to 45 harvesters, but that advantage could increase quite a bit in the not too distant future. You see Lua still on his hatch tech, is starting to take a couple of extra gases. No upgrade coming out of that evolution chamber yet. Does have the roach worn down. You see he has built at least a handful of roaches. Probably wouldn't expect him to go too roach heavy. And now we have a very interesting play here by RockEr, because he's going to be dropping some extra gateways in. Is also going to be dropping a dark shrine. So it looks like he really wants to try and keep the pressure on to Lua here. Doesn't want to give Lua the opportunity to really counterattack. We see Lua actually already gearing up to counterattack. Does realize RockEr has taken a fairly greedy opening with that very fast Nexus first into a really fast third base. I mean, essentially took it about the same time that Lua took his third base. And then was also applying a little bit of pressure with the zealots at the same time. You have the +1 ground weapons just about to finish up. That Dark Shrine will be done momentarily. Question is, will Lua be prepared for this Dark Shrine to go up? Does already have a Spore Crawler down at his natural. Hasn't actually seen the Dark Shrine, but might have an inkling with all those zealots that there's some kind of tech play coming, be it some kind of air type of play out of RockEr, or be it the Dark Templars. If he can actually get the Spore Crawler down with these zealots, it'd be pretty big. We see him immediately turn and try and attack it. Would make it very difficult for Lua to actually deal with Dark Templar, but right now these zealots are actually doing quite a bit of work, getting a couple of drone kills, it looks like. Now going to probably be cleaned up by these roaches over here at the third base. You see now a couple of DTs going into the main behind the zealot bush. No detection, quite able to catch them in time. They will get over near the main. Now going to be starting to work on hacking down the roach war, and that would be a huge loss for Lua at this point in time. Not that he can't replace it quite easily, but would not be able to produce any more roaches for a little bit of time here. And it does indeed go down to those Dark Templar. Those Dark Templar are actually doing a lot of damage right now. Really needs to get some detection down. Does have his lair up, so he will be able to morph in a Overseer to be able to spot these Dark Templar and clean them up. And here indeed does come the Overseer, and he is going to clean this up. New Roach Horn is going down, +1 ranged attacks on the way for Lua, but we already see that the +2 is on the way for RockEr, now starting to work on knocking down his gateway. So it looks like his push timing is starting to come up here. Going to be a pretty strong 3-base push here. Does have a couple of additional gateways already down. He's going to be going double Robo here, so he might be going for some really fast Colossus to switch this up from this pressure. You see him actually knocking this gateway down over here by his 3rd as well, so it looks like he just wants to open up all of his avenues, make it easier for him to transfer probes around and such forth. Do see Lua finally establishing his 4th base. A lot of roaches out here for Lua right now. Might be gearing up to try and pressure his opponent a little bit here. Do see that the +2 and +1 for the ranged weapons, and of course the carapace going up as well now. Do have a couple of proxy pylons over here for RockEr. He could get some kind of an observer or something over there. He could actually use those to just warp Dark Templars up onto this high ground and maybe try and apply some pressure to this 4th base. You see a couple of spine crawlers getting morphed in, though. Lua trying to play very safe, it looks like, against those DTs. Doesn't want to take any kind of unnecessary damage. You see the 4th base getting geared up here by RockEr. Now over here in the main, actually just going double immortal right now out of these robotics facilities here. So it looks like he could potentially just go for a little bit of a push with just a couple of immortals in his composition, which could actually be good, because at this point in time, Lua just basically has straight roaches. Not a lot of Hydralisk support or Infestor support or anything like that that's actually good at dealing with really heavy immortal type of plays. So if Lua doesn't catch on to exactly what RockEr's up to in time, it could actually be a pretty dangerous situation for Lua here. Although at the same time now, we do actually have Lua throwing down a Nidus network and an Infestation Pit. Not going to probably have Infestor Tech in time for what it looks like this push is going to be from RockEr. But if he could try and counter with that Nidus Canal, if he could get it dropped somewhere in the base during some kind of a battle, could potentially set him up, set himself up for a decent base trade situation maybe. He's going to have a difficult time with this composition with these Immortals. Just absolutely wreck roaches, and they do have very good upgrades right now. See right now he has 2 attack to the 1/1 on these roaches. Nidus Canal was down. I don't think he was geared up to do it, but it looks like he's going to actually pull all of his roaches out to defend. This is going to be a pretty hairy situation for Lua. We do see now the battle is going to ensue over here near the 3rd base location. Very good force fields go down, splitting the army in half. Half the roaches not even able to participate. We see right now he is going to move forward and try and focus fire down some of these Immortals, but these Immortals just doing so much work on these roaches. Going to be very close here by Lua. Really needs to just reinforce in with those roaches. Going to back up now to try and buy himself some time. Spawning a couple of Zerglings to maybe try and tank some of this damage for these roaches. But right now, getting pushed back here by RockEr. RockEr does have these reinforcement points near over to his potential 5th base, where he can reinforce in against these roaches for this push. Right now, just straight roaches coming for Lua, but actually is holding pretty firm, even despite the fact that this roach composition not ideal against heavy immortal play, such that RockEr is doing right now. I see RockEr now going to be content. Looks like to clean up a little bit of the creep near the center of the map. Is also taking his 5th base. Lua going to push into this again, though. Wants to try and focus fire down these Immortals right away. You see him doing that now. If he can clean all these Immortals out of his composition, he might have a chance with the Roaches to take out these Stalkers. Stalkers do now have 3 attack, though, and with the blink, it looks like they will be able to actually clean up the rest of these Roaches. Lua going to need to reinforce in, and now there is a bit of lag momentarily. There we go, Xenocider immediately leaving the game. Very mannered of Xenocider to not waste any time. So now we see Lua trying to hold on here. A couple more Immortals coming in by RockEr to reinforce, and that's definitely not what Lua wanted to see. Just had finally focused fire down those first set of Immortals. A couple of Zealots now coming in. They do not have the charge upgrade. Just blink on the Stalkers thus far. There is Colossus Tech coming behind this push here by RockEr. But RockEr needs to be careful here, because if Lua can actually clean up this army, he would be in a pretty good position. But as we can see, after that engagement, Lua before the engagement was at about 200 supply, while RockEr was stuck around 170. But after that battle, RockEr coming out on top, now at 200 of 200 supply, whereas Lua only at 187. This is going to allow Rocker to start banking a lot of minerals, and when these next two Colossus come out, it will give Rocker the ability to really push into these roaches. Lua's going to need some Corruptors out to deal with those Colossus. You see a couple of Corruptors already out and on the way here for Lua. Just now finally starting to get the roach speed. Takes this roach speed very late compared to a lot of Zerg players. Kind of an interesting choice there. I'm thinking that it's pretty intentional now by Lua that he actually doesn't get very quick roach speed. Maybe just likes to play defensively, but now we actually have a Nidus attempt over here at this 4th base. DTs will take it down though, and now we have a battle over here by the 5th base of Lua. Once again will be cleaned up by Rocker. And looks like Lua will be forced to retreat. Just does not have enough Corruptors to even attempt to deal with these Colossus right now, but it looks like he's going to be forced to at least engage this army momentarily before he does back up. He's going to need to be careful here. Going straight into these Colossus with just roaches would probably end his day, especially with these high ground areas over here that Rocker can use to cliff off with those Colossus to keep the roaches off of them. 5 more Corruptors finally on the way here for Lua. Does finally have the free supply to actually get those down. It is a little bit supply blocked right now, and now we actually see Rocker pushing in once again, picking off a couple of more roaches. Here comes the Corruptors, but I'm not really sure if it's going to be enough Corruptors to focus fire these Colossus down fast enough. They just do so much damage to roaches. Lua, though, doing his best to hold firm here. We do see his supply down to 157 versus Rocker's 183 now. Rocker reinforcing in, has banked quite a bit of minerals and gas, and now it looks like Rocker might have broken the natural here of Lua, and this is probably going to end up being GG pretty soon here, unless Lua can pull off the impossible and find a way to clean up this army. But no, the GG goes down, and Rocker will tie up this series between bny and vVv Gaming at 1-1. So really good game there between Lua and Rocker. Rocker had a very interesting style of play there. Definitely did like seeing that. Haven't seen a lot of Protoss use that type of style of play of taking 3 really fast expansions. Going with that really heavy Zealot pressure towards the 3rd base to actually buy himself the time to get that 3rd base up. Worked out very well for him. Ended up really delaying any attempts to go after that 3rd base by Lua long enough that there just really wasn't anything Lua could do to stop Rocker by the time Lua could really establish and hold that 3rd base and get himself back set up. Rocker basically was matching him base for base, and it was definitely never a situation you want to be in a Zerg. Lua did do a pretty good job of trying to apply some pressure back to Rocker, but just really could never get enough of a foothold to get himself in a good position.